We have our 10 favorite rabbit holes from these new Epstein documents that were released like a week or two ago or whatever that are just causing an uproar. It's not necessarily the most important Epstein files that were released, but what it is it's the ones that people aren't talking about enough and that we find the most interesting on the channel. And we're just going to run through these, take a little bit of a dive into all of them, and you can let us know what you think. Sit down, have a good time. All of these are important, and you kind of have to read between the lines to get to the bottom of it, for the most part. And I'll kind of show you what we mean by that when we get into some of these later ones. But the first one is very important. Trump told Palm Beach police chief everyone knew about Epstein, Maxwell was evil, and this was like a long time ago. We have the Epstein file here, so we might as well read through it real quick. It's interview of redacted, page 404. Trump said Maxwell was Epstein's operative. She is evil and to focus on her. Trump told Redacted that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present and Trump got the hell out of there. Trump was one of the very first people to call when people found out that they were investigating Epstein. And it's an interview in 2019, and they're saying Trump was one of the first people to call in 2019, at least. He was one of the first people to kind of blow the whistle. And we've seen a lot of what the right would call libtards that are like, this file's fake. And it's like, okay, well, if this file's fake, what about the ones that are claiming that Trump is like implicated in the files? Are those ones real or fake? You can't really have it both ways. And let's just take a look at this article a little bit. That's pretty much our first Epstein file here. Is that it is confirmed back in 2019 Trump was calling out Epstein. And there are more files that go into this a little bit. This is just the main one. I forget exactly what it said. There was another file where I believe Epstein said, like, we don't have any dirt on Trump or something like that. And then another one of the files we're going to go into, well, it's not technically a file, but it's Epstein working with this congresswoman here to try and find dirt on Trump, kind of coaching her in an interview. We'll get into that next. And I just want to skim this article, make sure we didn't miss anything worth bringing up. So apparently the redacted name is Reader, Eiter.
Maybe that's why no one ever released the Epstein files when the Democrats were in charge, because it implicates everyone except Trump.
Yeah, it could be.
It implicates all the inside. I mean, like, look, Bill Gates even hung out with Epstein. Prince Andrew hung out with Epstein after his conviction. Trump, through these documents, show that he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago once he found out or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, maybe.
Epstein tried to steal one of Mar-a-Lago's like employees or something, and that's what triggered Trump to like get mad at him. Something like
And
that.
so the newest conspiracy theory on like Reddit and other places is that Epstein actually hated Donald Trump, and that's where a lot of the ire towards him came from.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that as well, which makes sense. So this redacted name in the file, Miami Herald is claiming it's the then Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Reeder. And Trump called this guy and said, like, hey, Epstein and Ghislaine are like the worst of the worst. And that was back in 2019. And so this is a file that looks to be true and is very interesting because a lot of, like we were just talking about, a lot of people thought Trump was the main target with like these Epstein files, but it looks like he's not as implicated as people on the left hoped. So that's file number one. The next one we're going to get into, it's Democrat Representative Stacey Plaskett of the Virgin Isles. She is the lady that got caught texting with Jeffrey Epstein during like a hearing, and Epstein was like coaching her on what to ask to try to get dirt on Trump. And we'll go into that a little bit, but there's in these new files that got released, it looks like she went to Epstein's island. So she wasn't just getting advice from Epstein during like one hearing. She was like a close confidant of Epstein. So we'll take a look at this file. I actually haven't read this file yet. So it's from Leslie Groff to Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett is asking if she can meet you face to face sometime soon. She will be in the Virgin Islands all week, and they're going over dates here. And yeah, it looks like they're trying to schedule a conversation between her and Jeffrey Epstein. The from here is redacted, but it could be like Epstein. And they're sending an email to Anne Rodriguez. And it says, "Hi Anna, just want to make sure, did you send Stacey Plaskett instructions on how to get to the island on Monday? She has an appointment with him at 11." Okay, so this is like someone scheduling an appointment between Epstein and Stacey Plaskett. She has an appointment with him at 11 on the island, and it's possible Erica comes as well, trying to find out. And so, from these emails, we can assume there was at least a meeting with Stacey Plaskett and Jeffrey Epstein, like attempted to get scheduled. It wouldn't surprise me at all if she had been to the island, maybe even multiple times, because we've already seen her working with him while he was still alive. The main reason we're going over this file is because she's still in office, this representative from the Virgin Islands, who is like, it is public knowledge that she at least worked with Epstein. I don't know exactly if she did anything more than that, but that should be enough to ruin your career at this point, because I mean, these emails are in 2017, and then I forget when this hearing was. Yeah, the hearing was in 2019. So this is like way, way after everybody already knew that Epstein was into, child abuse. But it didn't bother her. And it's most likely because there's like a lot of corruption in the Virgin Islands. So what we're going to do is just real quickly, we're going to skim this video to refresh everyone's memory on when she was texting with Epstein during a Trump probe. Just in case this story is new to you, this did happen a while ago. Specifically, this video came out 2 months ago, but the hearing was in 2019.
Oversight Committee files just exposed something remarkable. During the 2019 Michael Cohen hearing, one of the most intense political moments of that year, a Democrat delegate was receiving real-time messages from Jeffrey Epstein. You know, like the disgraced financier everybody wants to have questions answered on, including me. And that all of that was happening while she was preparing to question Michael Cohen live on camera. And these messages line up almost perfectly with the exact moments she leaned into her questioning. And if that sounds unusual, folks, that's, because it is.
And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented that only black people could live that way. Attorney-client privilege, yes, I will turn it over.
You, as my friend Mr. Meadows pointed out, misled this committee even today. And
she's like looking down at her phone. And they're like time stamping. Keep in mind, there's like a time zone difference, but they're time stamping the messages. And these are from Epstein. He's sending them to her, and she's reading them on the floor during a Michael Cohen hearing.
Written submission
like
that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested you are going to review that. Did you review? Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record? Yes or no?
Yes.
Question: you helped out the president's campaign, or were involved in the campaign as a representative, as a spokesman. Even in your words today, it was your idea for the campaign dating back to 2011. Is that accurate? Yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those?
And Miss Rona. So Epstein was telling her, bring up Miss Rona, because like he must have known Rona had that maybe they had dirt on Rona or something, or Rona knew something about what they were going over. And so Epstein tells her to bring up Rona, and she does that.
Those individuals, are they with the Trump organization?
They
and
are.
Are there other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
You got to quickly give us as many names as you can so we can get.
And there's a little bit more to it, but you get the gist of the story. And it looks like this lady, after these files came out, was visiting Epstein's island. So how deep does that go? And again, the main reason we're covering it is because this lady hasn't resigned, and she's still in office. Next up, we're going to talk about Howard Lutnick, which is kind of a fun one. If you're not super into this story, he's someone who's kind of stayed under the radar this whole time. But there's some new documents that came out with the latest Epstein drop. He's basically been caught lying because he said something like, "Oh, I stopped visiting. I only went a few times." And then the Epstein files were released, and that was a total lie. He was still in communication with him for like many years after, and who knows what else he did. So we'll watch this. It is Howard Lutnick lying in an interview about Epstein, and then we have a few more sources on Howard Lutnick.
So he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it,
And this interview was a while ago. So it's like he has this interview, states, oh, I'm not implicated that much with Epstein. And then the files come out and we kind of reveal that that's a lie.
double doors, I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house,
They were neighbors. He used to be the neighbor of Epstein.
my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
Yeah, and so that turned out to be a lie. And he's the Secretary of Commerce, currently, right now. Here's one of the files where it kind of talks about it a little bit. We'll go into this. Something about see attached term sheet from Howard to PA. Not exactly sure what they're all talking about, but he did continue to have communications with Epstein. I believe Epstein even donated to one of his events and even showed up. They were in the same room again. And we have a little bit more on Howard Lutnick. I don't know if people remember this video. It's from July 16th, and it's basically just comments by Trump after he got off a helicopter ride. And keep in mind, it's important to know that Howard Lutnick was with him. They had this helicopter ride together. And we'll listen to Trump's remarks, and then we got to talk about it a little bit after.
Move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
So I don't know if you remember that clip going around, but this is what we're talking about right here.
I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things to steal.
Yeah, and the credible information had not yet been given at this point. He's trying to downplay it and say I don't know what anyone cares about Epstein. Why would he say that? Well, standing right next to him is Howard Lutnick. They just probably had a nice conversation on their little helicopter or airplane ride where Lutnick was like, bro, he used to be my neighbor. If these files get released, I'm fucked. Please, save my ass. Something like that. Trump kind of responds by telling the press, hey, we don't have any more credible information. I don't know why people care about him. It's most likely because he was trying to save face for Howard Lutnick. And after these files were released, he's he just the same as Representative Stacey Plaskett. He's still in office, and in my opinion, probably shouldn't be. And so what is that? That's our third source. We'll get into our fourth one next. It involves this guy, a chef named Fancis Dirby, who has a restaurant in New York City. We have it here. Well, it's permanently closed now, but he had a restaurant. It was called the Cannibal Liquor House, and I believe it used to be called the Cannibal and Co. or something. It changed names. The Cannibal. It used to be called, I believe, The Cannibal. It was called at one point The Cannibal Liquor House. It used to be a restaurant that is now closed in Manhattan. And it's involved very oddly in these files. And it has to do with what they're referring to as jerky. And I'm sure you've heard about this. People are alleging that when they talk about jerky in the files, they're talking about eating kids or something. So we're going to take a look at that. We got a couple of these files we got to read. So this is from Fancis Dirby, the chef of the Cannibal restaurant in New York. To redacted, subject jerky. Just wanted to touch base about jerky. Epstein said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. I don't know what the fuck that's about because like jerky's like regular food, so jerky could be like a secret word for to mean something else. That said, he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer for his next trip. And also, I don't know if you know anything about jerky. It's like dried meat. You don't need to freeze jerky. What you would need to freeze though is like children meat or something. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Any other questions, please let me know. Thanks, Francis. Oh, it looks like he might have also had a restaurant in LA. He's like a famous chef, this guy here. Watch a little clip of him.
Today I'm coming to you from the Cannibal in New York City. Chef Fancis Dirby.
This guy. He supplied Epstein with jerky.
Is particularly known for fabulous nose-to-tail cooking and expert butchery. Chef Tin has worked in very high fine dining restaurants, primarily focusing on tasting menu cuisine, and they collaborated on a dish they call sunchoke and sunflower tartare.
There is no greater creative process than collaboration.
And honestly, sunchoke and sunflower tartare is kind of a gross-sounding meal or dish.
I sun choked and sun tartared your mom.
Yeah, or your kid. I mean, it's kind of messed up. Yeah, and then the name of the restaurant is called The Cannibal. It's fucked up.
Opportunity for me to have another chef in house. That collaboration kind of charges everybody up. Everybody gets a little excited about it.
Fran and I've known each other for years.
What Tin brings is very strong French technique, really intense Asian flavors.
For me, it's always been ingredient first and making it.
So yeah, it's that guy. We got some more sources on it. Here's another file. It's from Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. Francis has time to come tomorrow to show me how to make it. Jerky class, anyone? He will also bring you a taste of his new jerky recipe from the restaurant. He sends a warm hello. He is working at a restaurant called Cannibal and cooks. Wait for it, beef jerky and steak. He has time at 3 p.m. tomorrow if this is okay with you. So yeah, very weird stuff that Jeffrey Epstein is a fan of this chef that works at a restaurant, Cannibal and Cooks, that is now permanently closed, and it has very weird references to jerky that don't actually make sense. Next up, we have Sultan Ahmed Bin Sulayem, who I kind of took a look into. I think he's just like a businessman from like the Middle East. Let me pull that up. CEO of DP World. He's an Emirati businessman. So like I think it's the UAE, United Arab Emirates. He's like a billionaire businessman. And he kind of got protected by the DOJ in these files when he shouldn't have been. And we have this tweet here. I have taken a look at the file. It's legitimate. But there was like a file where it was like a redacted email to Jeffrey Epstein that said like, hey, I really liked the torture video you sent me. And the name was redacted. Thomas Massey goes and views the unredacted files and finds out the name that was redacted is Sultan Ahmed Bin Sulayem. And on the House floor, he states his name. And as a response, the DOJ unredacts his name from the files. The issue here is his name shouldn't have been redacted in the first place because he's not a victim. From the files, it looks like he's actually like an associate or co-conspirator with Epstein. Why is the DOJ protecting these kind of people? They shouldn't have been. And the only reason they unredacted his name is because they got called out by Thomas Massey. So who else are they protecting in the files and why is what you should be asking yourself. They should only be protecting the victims. Like, that's it. This guy's not a victim. He's getting torture videos sent to him from Jeffrey Epstein, but the DOJ's covering his name up. And fun fact about that, if the DOJ is willing to protect this guy, it could be possible that they're also willing to protect other popular people. So I don't know if you ever heard of the Vegas shooting. We covered it on the channel, I don't know, a couple months ago. It's the Vegas shooting. I don't know if you've heard the story, but it was like the largest mass casualty, mass shooting event in United States history, where there was allegedly some guy who just shot up a concert in Vegas. But conspiracy theorists like us, again, we've covered this on the channel, say it looks to be a cover-up for like a potential gun deal or potential assassination attempt gone wrong. And they might have been trying to assassinate Mohammed bin Salman and Khalid bin Salman al Sayed, who are brothers and sons of the former king of Saudi Arabia, who were both in town, both staying at the building where the shooting took place from. And there are a lot of other weird coincidences. The reason I'm bringing this up is because we have here a confirmed case of the DOJ protecting some of these prominent figures. That happened. The DOJ covered up his name to try to protect him. He wasn't a victim. They shouldn't have done that. So it would make it possible that they would cover up another story like this to protect the royal family of Saudi Arabia. I don't know if that would if that would cross your mind of something the government might do, but it crosses my mind of something the government might do. And I definitely recommend you check out this video. It goes into it a lot more than we have time for tonight. And next up, we got to talk about Little Marco and this guy, Peter Mandelson. Breaking. It has been revealed Marco Rubio reportedly warned the UK government about Peter Mandelson before his appointment as ambassador to the US. So basically, there's this guy, Peter Mandelson. He was the current ambassador to the US from like the UK government, but he ended up resigning because he looks to be interested in little kids. He's like an associate, or he was in the Epstein files and he resigned over it. We have our guy, Marco Rubio, who's the Secretary of State, and he blew the whistle on this months ago, like when Peter Mandelson was appointed as the ambassador to the US to represent the UK. Marco Rubio said, hey, this guy's bad, like he's a bad pick. And this article is behind a paywall, but basically it does confirm what we're saying. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio believed to have expressed deep unease about Peter's relationship with Epstein and links to China. And so it was him blowing the whistle saying this Mandelson guy has a relationship with Epstein and links to China. Like maybe he's not a good pick for the ambassador. But he still ended up becoming the ambassador. But it looks like Marco Rubio was right, and maybe we should have listened to him. And then we're not going to get into it tonight, but there have been a lot of other people in the UK government that have been resigning lately because they've been implicated in the Epstein files. And I would like to see more of that in the United States. We should start with first Virgin Islands Representative Stacey Plaskett, and then the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Next up, we have a creepy one. So apparently on December 6th, 2018, Epstein ordered 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid. So we'll get the calculator out real quick. Epstein ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid. And let's try to visualize that. I just want to see if there's like a picture of about how much is 330 gallons. Right here, it's one of these things. This is a 330-gallon like drum. This is how much it is. I don't know if you've ever seen these like on a truck or like on a train or something. That's 330 gallons. And I do want to point out, that's more than enough space to like put a body in. And you can like use sulfuric acid. It's like an acid to like dissolve things, like potentially children if you're Epstein. And let's go back to our source here because it goes deeper, right? So he ordered the 330 gallons of sulfuric acid December 6, 2018. What also happened on that day? Well, I'm going to tell you right here. This is the Independent. It's got a little timeline of like the Jeffrey Epstein investigation and public files release and all that. But basically, December 6, 2018, the same day that Epstein ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid, FBI agents and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan began a new investigation into Epstein. So it's a very interesting coincidence that Epstein ordered this much sulfuric acid on the same day the FBI and DOJ, or I guess not DOJ, U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, open an investigation into him. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, like I would say everyone should be at this point after these files have been released, you would say that's kind of a silly coincidence. Could it be that someone at the FBI or potentially the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan leaked to Epstein that an investigation into him had began, and that's why Epstein ordered the sulfuric acid to get rid of evidence? It wouldn't surprise me. And then another thing about this is there's like stupid drugs like you can't buy like too much of. It's like there are many cold flu and allergy medications like Sudafed that are like over the counter, and they're kind of tracked by the pharmacy because people will use these medicines basically to like make drugs like meth. And so they're like tracked or monitored heavily. But it looks like if Epstein wants to purchase 330 gallons of sulfuric acid, no one really asks any questions and he can just do it, which is weird. I just wanted to point that out. Next up, this isn't actually new from the files, but people are talking about it a little bit more after the files were released. So it's like a cold case. Madeleine McCann, she got kidnapped in 2007 at the age of 3 in Portugal while her and her family were on vacation. And, no one knows what happened to her, but we do have some sketches of like potentially the people that abducted her. Like right here, police sketch of wanted men in connection to the abduction of Madeleine McCann. These two police sketches here, people are pointing out again, this has been known for a while, that they look very similar to John Podesta and Tony Podesta. And there's a third one here of a lady, and people are saying, well, that kind of looks like Ghislaine Maxwell, doesn't it? And especially after these files have been revealed and we're kind of seeing deeper into like how connected Epstein was, people are thinking more and more like, yeah, it was probably these people that abducted this kid. And it does look a lot like her. And the reason I am covering this is because this one's new to me. I've heard about the Madeleine McCann case, but I'd never seen these sketches or heard people connect the dots that it could actually be John and Tony Podesta and Ghislaine Maxwell that abducted this kid. But that would make sense. Could have abducted the kid for like Epstein or something, or to do some John Podesta Pizzagate shenanigans with. Could all be, the same circle there. And this is one of my favorites, and so that's why we're going over it. So one of the targets of the Unabomber was this dude right here. He's a picture of him, David Galentner. So the Unabomber sent this guy a bomb. It like injured his hand and like made him blind in one eye or something like that. And you think like, oh yeah, that's terrible, right? But it turns out this dude's in the Epstein files. And he's now barred from teaching classes at Yale because of his involvement with Epstein and the revelation of it coming out with the new Epstein files that were released. And so it now looks like Yale is doing an investigation into his email correspondence with Epstein, and he's no longer allowed to teach at Yale. And so I just wanted to point out that maybe the Unabomber was right about this one, and it looks like if he's right about this one, he might be right about a lot more things as well. And maybe he's not just like a crazy MK Ultra dude. He might have been onto something, but he just wasn't able to express it in a better way. And we'll go back, we'll read this source right here. So the scariest adult realization is the Unabomber was actually the good guy. Kind of funny. Ted Kaczynski, who is the Unabomber, kicked off his last bombing spree by sending this guy and a one Charles Epstein mail bombs in the same weekend. And I looked into the Charles Epstein connection. He doesn't appear to have any relation or connections to Jeffrey Epstein. It's just a different guy. But what is worth noting is the David guy got sent a bomb, and he just got fired from Yale because of his relationship with Epstein. And he was a computer science professor at Yale University. He lost sight in one eye, hearing in one ear, and a portion of his right hand due to the Unabomber bombing. And this all happened in 1993. And it just comes out now that he was a creep, he was close to Epstein, and he lost his job over it. And then the last one, we don't really have a source on, but we just want to talk about how deep the Epstein network goes. Epstein had correspondence, or at least talked about, or at least hosted, or participated in a fundraiser. With so many people, the web goes so many different ways, not even just political, but it goes into like almost like everyone. It's basically like a heat map of the elites of these kind of people. And let me actually see if I can pull up a source on that. I had one earlier. This might be it. Yeah, like look at this. So like Epstein is the red dot here. And then these are all the people that he had like direct communications with, and it just like goes into this massive web of people that Jeffrey Epstein was connected to in one way or another. It's like crazy how deep it really does go. And I don't think a lot of people realized how deep this really goes until we started seeing these files be released. And allegedly, they've only released half the files. And a lot of the files are like heavily redacted. So there's just like so much more information we might not even know yet. Give it a couple months. If we get the last like 3 million files, this web could like double in size, which is kind of crazy to me. And it's almost hard to even wrap your head around like how big this network goes. So I guess let me know what you think. Leave a comment if there is another Epstein file that we should have gone over. These are our favorite, like a little top 10 list of fun ones. But if there's any other ones that are of importance that are maybe going under the radar, definitely let us know. And then if there's any of these that we hit on that we should take a deeper dive into, definitely let us know. Maybe we're missing some things that would take it a couple levels deeper. That would be fun. We'd be interested in doing that. And subscribe and check out other videos on the channel.